Good morning, dear friends. Today is October the 23rd in the year of 2003, and we are in Upper Hamlet during our IP retreat. In 1964, I have found a school of youth for social service in Vietnam. Years ago, we founded the School of Youth for Social Service in a situation of war, and we help to deal with the problem of violence, poverty, sickness, social injustice. And in our School of Youth for Social Service, we train young monks and young nuns and young laymen, laywomen to do the social work. And we went to the countryside and to help peasants to rebuild their villages, to improve their quality of life. We help them with, in many ways, education, health, economic, and organization. There are villages where there was no school, and children had to work very young in order to help their parents. They help with cultivating the land, fishing, doing other things, and they did not have a chance to go to school. And so we went to these villages and tried to set up a very humble kind of school. We did not bring any money with us. We came, one person or two persons, and we played with the children. Because the children, children who do not know how to spend their time. So play with them, and then we begin to teach them how to read and to write. And when their parents see that, they like us. And when it rains, we will ask the permission to go into the house of a person, and we continue our teaching. And finally, we proposed that people in the village to help us build a school. And the school is made with bamboo and coconut leaves for the roof and bamboo for the wall. And that was the first school that had ever been built in the village. And when people saw that we do well, and then they help us to make the school bigger, so that other children can come and profit. And we also offer classes during the night so that the children and adults who cannot attend class in the day can come. And we go and look for friends who can donate oil, petrol, in order to have a lamp lighted in the night, so that classes can be held. We begin with what we know and what we have. We did not expect anything from the government, because if you wait there, you stay there and wait for the government, it will be a long time. So we train people like that. And then one day we bring a lawyer, a judge from the city to the village, and we set up a tribunal on the open air, and we call the villagers to come and witness, so that we can establish a birth certificate for the children, because the children did not have birth certificate, they cannot enroll in school, public school. So in the morning we could establish 20 birth certificates, and the children who have been able to attend our school can be sent to a public school with some help. So we did things like that in the field of education. In the field of health, we set up also a health center that was made also of coconut leaf and bamboo wool. And it can be beautiful also because we use the mud to mix with the straw, and we make the wall very, very warm. I remember I myself helped to tell the young people how to do it, because when I was young, I have seen people doing that, mixing straw with mud. But in 1964, we were able to put some cement in it so that it can be stronger. And then we ask students of medical schools who are about to graduate as doctors to come every week in order to help the peasants to heal. We open our health center, and people come. They have cataract. They have all kind of disease, coughing, cold, and people can die because of these kind of small illness. We did not have any budget. We only had our heart, because we were young monks, young nuns, young lay man, lay woman. And it was love that was the energy that can help us to do so. And we help organize cooperatives. We teach people how to invest, how to organize and invest. One person might borrow money from other families in order to build a house, to invest in a small business as a vendor. And then next month, and then another person will have a chance to borrow the money from others. And that is what we taught in the School of Youth for Social Service. And concerning health, we show people how to build toilets, because before that they went to the toilet everywhere, and if they had diarrhea, And then the bacteria may come to the stream of water, and people get diarrhea also. So we show them how to use cement and sand in order to make a toilet seat very cheap. We did a lot of these kind of things, and we had a lot of joy. And we set up pilot villages. First of all, we came and take picture the way they live in the beginning. And after 1 year of work, well, the village transformed. And we take picture, and we make that village into a pilot village. And we didn't rely on any government, because there were two governments in Vietnam, one communist and one anti-communist. They are fighting with each other. And we did not want to sign up to line up with any government, to take side. Because if we know that if we took side, and then we have to fight the other side. And this is very important. You invest your time, your life into fighting the other side, and you cannot help people. We teach people how to make compost, how to raise chickens so that they would not die. So we learned the techniques in the school, and we went to the countryside and we share all kind of this kind of techniques and know-how. We were able to set up many pilot villages. And then we invite peasants from other villages to come and see, so they will be inspired by the desire to transform their villages into such a village. And I was the founder of the School of Youth for Social Service, and I was member of the teaching body, and I taught the subject, how to win the heart of people when you go to a village. Because the first thing you have to do is to win the sympathy of the people. And then you come and you are supposed to find a place to stay. And you are told that don't choose a wealthy family, because if you stay in a wealthy family, you'll be discriminated. Don't stay in a house where there is a beautiful girl, because people can talk ill about you. And I taught all these kind of things. And although you eat with them, you sleep with them, but every month you have to offer something to compensate. And you have to win the heart. If there is a temple in the village, you have to win the sympathy of the priest, of the monk. So I taught that subject. Before that, I had gone to learn from other places about community development, the non-violent way of doing things. I also learned about kibbutz and so on. And we organize peasants so that they can help each other. They will take the situation in hand and not just sit there and wait for the government. And then, because of the war, there's so many villages that were destroyed by the bombing. And there are so many refugees that we have to take care of. In the beginning, our purpose is to develop, to do the work of rural development. But because the war became intense, We had to take care of refugees and resettle refugees. In '69, a village that we have built in Quang Tri, very close to the DMZ, the militarized zone, separating the north and the south. The village is Talok. I spent more than a year to build that village into a beautiful village where people enjoy living. And then one day the American bombers, airplanes came and bombarded the village because they had got some information that there were communist guerrillas penetrating into the village. And the people in the village lost their home. And our workers took refuge in other places and sent word to us whether they should try to rebuild the village. And we said, yes, you have to rebuild the village. And then we spent another 6 months rebuild the village. And the village was destroyed by the bombing for the second time. Again, we lost our home. We had built many villages like that throughout the country. And this is a very hot place. This is near the DMZ, separating the north and the south. And then our workers asked us whether we had to rebuild it again for the third time. And after a lot of deliberation, we said that, well, yes, we have to rebuild it. And we rebuilt it for the third time. And you know something? It was destroyed for the third time by the American bombing. We were very close to despair. Very close to despair. You know the word despair? It's horrible, despair. Despair is the worst that can happen to a human being. And we rebuilt it for the third time. And then it was bombarded for the third time. And yet the same question was asked, should we rebuild? Should we give up? There was a lot of discussion at the headquarters. And we were tempted by the idea to give up. But 3 times is too much. Too much. But we were wise enough not to give up. Because if we give up the village of Talok, we give up something else, that is hope. We have to maintain hope in order not to fall into despair. That is why finally we decided to give the order to rebuild it for the 4th time. We had to resettle a lot of refugees, many resettle villages. I remember I was sitting in my office at the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Saigon. And many young people came to me and asked, Thầy, do you think that the war will end someday? Do we have any hope? Because the village of Talok is only just one place where the situation was very hard. People were dying every day. People were killing each other. Communists, anti-communists, involvement of Russia and China in the war, the involvement of Americans in the war. We got the ideologies, we got the weapons. We got advisors from China, from Russia. We got military personnel from America. And Vietnam became the victim of an international conflict, both weapon and ideology. And he wanted to end the war. But we could not end the war because the situation was not in our hand. It was in the hand of big powers. Thầy, do you think that we have any hope? Imagine I sit there, I was sitting there with 16, 18 young people asking me that question. It did not seem that there was hope because the war had been dragging on and on and on and on and on. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. And when I was asked that question, I had to practice mindful breathing and going back to my true home, the island of self. And finally, very calmly, I said, my dear friends, the Buddha said that everything is impermanent. Nothing can stay there forever. The war also is impermanent. The war should end sometime. Let us not lose our hope. And that's what I told them. There's not a lot of hope in me, I had to confess. But if I said that, I have no hope, and then I'll destroy all these 16 or 18 young people. So I had to practice in order to nourish a little hope in me so that I can be the refuge of these young people. We have gone through the fire and we know how hot it is. I had a student who had graduated from the University of Bloomington in USA on English literature. She was ordained as a nun. And she was caught, she was arrested and put into prison. And you know something? In prison, she practiced walking meditation in her small cell. And don't think that the cell is only for herself. No, this is not Hilton Hotel. She had to sleep with several other women. Because she was working for peace against human rights, and that is why she was arrested in order to maintain herself, to keep her courage, so that she could survive. She had to practice walking meditation. She had been taught by myself how to walk, to be in the present moment, and to nourish herself, to nourish her hope. And she was able to help many people in prison. She even gave them the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. And in such a situation like that, you can survive with your spiritual life. Otherwise, you get insane. You have no hope. You are frustrated. You get insane. You suffer much more. That is why the spiritual life, the spiritual dimension of your life is so important. If you are overwhelmed by anger, by despair, by fear, you suffer so much. You cannot help yourself. How can you help other people? And anger is fire. Fear is fire. Despair is fire. And suspicion is fire. It continues to burn you, and when you suffer so much from this kind of fire, how can you survive? And how can you help other people? So Sister Thich Nhat Hanh was practicing walking meditation all night in order to not to get insane and to be herself. She went home to her true home. Her true home is within herself. Your true home is not in Paris, in London, in Jerusalem, in Talok, because that home can be bombarded, can be taken away from you. But the true home within yourself, nobody can take away. The Buddha said, go home to the island within yourself. There is a safe island of self inside. Every time you suffer, you get lost, you will go back to your true home. That true home nobody can take away from you. That's the teaching of the Buddha given to his disciples when he was 80 years old. And we have in Plum Village a song, breathing in, I go back to the island within myself. There are days when nothing seems to work for you. You have relied on your intelligence, on your talent, and you think that you can succeed. But there are days when everything seems to go wrong. And as things go wrong, you try harder. And as you try harder, it continues to get wrong, to go wrong. No matter how hard you try, things get wrong. And you say that this is not my day. I don't have any luck today. No matter how you continue, how you try your hard, things do not work. And you are advised to stop trying. You are advised to go home to yourself. To recover yourself. You cannot just rely on your talent, on your intelligence and go on. You have to go home and to rebuild yourself. To get more solidity, more freedom, more peace, more calm before you can go out again. "25 years ago, I had a hermitage not very far from Paris, about 2 hours drive from Paris, in a wood called Forêt d'Hôte, in the department of Aube. One day I left the hermitage and I went to the wood and spent the whole day in the wood to practice sitting and writing poetry. It was very beautiful in the morning, but in the late afternoon, I noticed that cloud was gathering and the wind began to blow. So I did not want to stay longer in the woods, so I walked home. And when I arrived at my hermitage, it was a mess, because In the morning, before I left, I opened all the windows and the door so that the sunshine can come in and dry everything inside. And then when I step into, I said everything is a mess. The wind had blown in, and all the sheet of paper in my desk were scattered all over, and nothing was there. My hermitage was cold, miserable, in a real mess. You know, the first thing I did, is to go and close the 2 windows and the door. This is the first thing you do. The second thing I did is to go to the chimney and light and make a fire. And when the fire begins to glow, you hear the joyful noise of the wood. You feel much better. And then the third thing I did was to go and pick up all these scattered sheet of papers and put them on the table and put a stone on it. I spent about 25 minutes of doing that. And then finally I sat down close to the chimney. I felt wonderful. The hermitage has become warm, pleasant. So when you find yourself in a miserable condition, because the window of your eyes are open, the window of your ear are open, and the wind from the outside blow in, and you become a victim, you become a mess. In your feelings, in your body, in your perception, you become a mess. And in that state of mind, of being, you should not try hard. You should go home to your hermitage. It is inside, and close the doors, and light the fire, and make it cozy again. That is what I call taking refuge in the island of yourself. I have arrived, I'm home. That is the practice. If you don't go home to yourself, you continue to lose yourself. You destroy yourself and you destroy people around you. Even if you have the best of goodwill to do something to help. That is why the practice of going home to the island of self is very important. And your true home, no one can take it away. You know, I have banned from going home to my country in Vietnam since 1966. Not only the anti-communists did not want me to go home, but the communist government did not want me to go home. But I practice having a home within myself. Wherever I go, I feel home. Don't think that my home is in Plum Village. My home is more solid than Plum Village because I know Plum Village can be removed from us.